Nurse put the healthy baby next to her dying twin, and a real miracle happened. The consequence of a nurse placing a healthy infant next to her dying twin proves that faith has the power to impact any situation. When science was at its wit's end, the unfathomable power of faith saved the day. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. Long before this miracle happened to save Catalina's twins, she was a typical teenager, aiming to get through the hardships of high school in order to go to college and become a successful dentist. Both her parents were dentists, so it was only natural for her parents to want her to carry on the family heritage. Her parents were well off, so they seemed to be doing everything in their power to make sure she had nothing to complain about. The couple wanted nothing more than to spare their daughter the hardships they themselves had experienced in the pursuit of a better life. They believed, under such better conditions, their daughter would be in complete command of her life for the sake of her livelihood. She hoped that upon graduating from college, she would work with her parents and eventually settle down with the man of her dreams. And by the man of her dreams, she meant anybody who checked off her boxes, including the not having any children box. That was her ideal man. The fact that the children admired Catalina and that she had previously enjoyed their company did not deter her from believing that children were not her cup of tea. The logic behind her unconventional decision to not have babies was based on the fear of losing her independence. But most importantly, was having to watch a fragile loved one like a son or daughter suffer in an increasingly difficult environment while she looked on helplessly and eventually lost that person. The devastating effect of the loss was enough to deter her from getting attached to the adorably cute and smaller versions of herself. After getting into college, she soon discovered that having everything may sometimes be counterproductive. Her college life opened her to lots of experiences her parents tried to protect her from. For the first time, she had to live all by herself. Though she had the means to afford any apartment or hostel in the city, she now had to worry about how her breakfast would be prepared, how her clothes would be laundered, or how her room would be tidied without any effort from her. She tried to imitate the standard of living she enjoyed while with her parents by getting someone to take care of all the chores she would otherwise be doing, but she quickly realized how costly it was. In addition to that, she was also living a lavish lifestyle. She was faced with having to choose between getting help with her private life and her lavish lifestyle. Her extravagant lifestyle was hard to do without, so she stopped hiring someone to take over her chores. As a result, she had to make major private lifestyle changes. She began learning how to cook, clean her surroundings, operate a washing machine, and more. She also began to stay on top of her dates so she wouldn't get behind on the payments of her bills. She also dreaded the notion that she was about to become an adult for the first time in her entire life. Soon enough, it dawned on her why life outside of her parents' purview seemed complicated and stressful. Her parents had done everything in their power to create a magical and simple world for her, which unfortunately didn't mirror anything in the real world. They tried to protect her from the very experience she was undergoing. She had everything she wanted on a silver platter, but when she stepped out of the bubble she was living in at her parents' house, she began to realize the simple hardships of life. Considering how tough it was to care for herself, she was glad she decided not to get pregnant and made her decision even more permanent by realizing how much more difficult it would be if she had to care for someone else. As a result, when she became sexually mature and began dating, she decided to undergo surgery to bind her fallopian tubes together in order to avoid pregnancy at all costs. She seemed happy with how her life was progressing. 5 years later, she was about to live her dream of becoming a college graduate and working in her parents' field of profession. By the time she began working with her parents, she was in a committed relationship with her college sweetheart, whom she had been seeing for about a year. Catalina's parents adored him since he was so easy to get along with in every situation. He had expressed interest in marrying Catalina. They like him because they considered him as capable of providing their daughter with the life they aspire for her. Catalina's boyfriend was from a wealthy family, and he had moved out on his own in order to start a new business. Catalina's parents seemed proud of how their daughter had turned out and felt quite fulfilled that she would soon be engaged to someone they deem fit. Catalina at the time had not bothered to discuss with her boyfriend her intentions of staying childless. Even though when they did have that conversation, he seemed comfortable with the idea, he didn't completely rule out the option of being a father in the far future. He thought she only said no to having babies from the fear of missing out on her youthful days and hoped she would rethink her decision when she's a bit older. A conversation on the birth topic resurfaced later when he was about to ask Catalina to be his wife. He expressed his intentions of being the father of her children. Her response to that was no different a few years back. She was adamant about not wanting to have children. Surprised to know how firm Catalina stood in her decision not to have babies, even after a long time, drove him crazy. In his rage, he forcefully grabbed and raped her. He did that in an attempt to get her pregnant. He knew if he had informed her of his plan for them to have intercourse, she would have taken precautions not to get pregnant. By the time he was through, Catalina barely made it to her parents' house on the other side of town after her body had been wounded and her heart had been broken. She didn't say a word about her sorrowful experience in the hands of her boyfriend to her parents. They could only guess she has a little misunderstanding and they would be back together in no time. Because they didn't want their daughter to miss this awesome opportunity of ending up with her boyfriend, they decided to let the lovebirds settle their differences. When he visited Catalina at her parents' house, he acted calm, like nothing wrong ever happened. Catalina barely made it to her parents' house on the other side of town after her body had been wounded and her heart had been broken. Catalina was taken aback when he continued to talk to her as if nothing had happened, and he inquired as to whether she would mind telling her parents that they were getting married at some point, or whether she would prefer to wait a little longer before officially announcing their engagement to her parents. Her jaw dropped as she heard what he had said, and she immediately told him there was no way they were getting married after what he had done the night before. In the midst of her sobs, she flung him out of the house, and he looked stunned. She then told her parents about what had happened the night before. Her parents consoled her and provided her with all the support she needed to get her life back together. They asked her to stay with them for as long as she needed. Her decision to remain childless was carved in stone so much that she resulted in taking medication to prevent her from conceiving. She later regained her confidence and carried on living her life and working with her parents as she has always done. It turned out her efforts to prevent the chance of fertilization wasn't enough, as she later became pregnant with twins. Getting to know that she was pregnant threw her into depression for a long time. Her parents and friends helped her regain control of her life. She mysteriously came to terms with the reality and momentum to live the rest of her days for the sake of her twins. Before she was finally delivered of her twins, an ultrasound scan showed her twins holding hands in her womb. This awesome phenomenon inspired her, and she hopefully looked forward to being a mother to those lovely babies. She knew it wasn't going to be easy, but she knew she had to be strong. The support from her family and friends really gave her the strength she needed to go through the sudden and drastic changes in her life. But she had no idea the fate that awaited her with the birth of her twins. She did have a successful delivery. Upon birthing her lovely twins, she was informed by the doctor about some complications with one of the twins. According to the doctor, one of her babies was born with a weak heart, abnormally small in size and weight, and wasn't breathing properly, so she was immediately put in an incubator. However, her other daughter was in perfect condition. She requested for the healthy baby, and she was brought to her. Instinctively, she requested that the baby be brought to the incubator with her other son so that they may say their goodbyes, if God wanted it that way. Despite the fact that it was against the rules, the nurse accepted, and after only a few minutes, she was struck with emotion by a very sweet moment. In the beginning, there was the healthy baby who found a way to hug her brother as if she was trying to transmit her strength onto him. While hugging an infant, she witnessed an incredible phenomenon that no one could have expected. His heart's rhythm quickly returned after only a few minutes of interruption. Doctors recommend they stay 2 or 3 weeks to investigate the phenomenon. It wasn't long until Catalina and her children were allowed to leave the hospital, happy, in good physical condition. She would never get tired of thanking God for her 2 children, whom she regarded as her greatest blessing because love had transformed into a miracle. If you enjoyed the video, kindly give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section, and share with others. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.